Today's lesson is 10.4, factoring trinomials when a equals 1. Okay, so remember that trinomials are polynomials with 3 terms. Now the generic form for a trinomial looks like ax squared plus bx plus c, where A, B, and C are are numbers. So ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are numbers. So we will be focusing on trinomials when a equals 1, okay? So a could equal any numbers, but that just makes it more complicated. So the most basic form of a trinomial is when a equals 1. So with that concept, we're going to talk about how to go about factoring. Now, remember from what I talked about yesterday, factoring is much like the opposite of multiplying. Okay, it just depends on what type of factoring you're doing. So there's a few patterns that we are going to talk about today, but let's first start with our first problem. Number 1. X squared plus 8x plus 15. And we want to leave this in simplest factored form. Well, how are we going to factor this? So anytime you have a trinomial, remember a equals 1, the pattern that you're looking for, the pattern that you're going to follow, is that you're going to find factors of c that add to b. You're going to find factors of c that add to b. So what does that mean? So we're looking for factors of c, so factors of 15 that add to 8. Okay, so see how b and c are here? B and c. So factors of c that add to b. So let's think about our factors of 15. 1 and 15, 3 and 5. So of those factors, which ones add to 8? Well, that's going to be 3 and 5. So how does that help us factor this problem out? Well, when we did multiplying, we could multiply 2 binomials, combine like terms, to get a trinomial. And that's what we're going to do here. We're going to create 2 binomials that when multiplied correctly will give us that answer. So remember that the binomial setup looked like this. Okay, you had something here and something here. Well, what times x will give me x squared? Well, it's going to be x times x. Remember, always and forever, x times x will be x squared. Then what you're going to do is you're going to place your factors that you found inside those binomials. So factors of 15 that add to 8, which would be positive 3 and positive 5. And this ends up being our answer. Well, how do I know that's the answer? Other than the fact that I do, how do you know that that's the answer? Well, the best way to do is to check your work. And how do we check? Well, remember I said that factoring is like the opposite of multiplying. So by checking, I'm just going to multiply the answer I got. X plus 3 times x plus 5. Well, remember, how do we do that? We multiply each part and distribute. So x times x is x squared. X times 5, 5x. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 5, 15. Combine like terms, and you see we got the original problem. And so factoring and multiplying are opposites of each other. But this is the key. You're finding factors of C that add to B. Let's try the next one. X squared plus 9x plus 8. X squared plus 9x plus 8. What is the factored form of this trinomial? So again, we're thinking of factors of the constant, or factors of C, that add to B. So factors of 8 that add to 9. Okay, well, what are my factors of 8? 1 and 8, 2 and 4. So which factors add to 9? Well, that'd be 1 and 8. So therefore, my answer would be x plus 1 and x plus 8. And again, we can check our work to make sure that it actually came out correctly. So we distribute, we get x squared plus 8x plus 1x plus 8. So x squared plus 9x plus 8. Works out. Now, I write my factors always small to big. What if I'd written my factors opposite? Could I say that x plus 8 times x plus 1 is also an answer? I wrote the same thing, I just changed the order. Well, let's check and verify. Could I write it the other way and it still be correct? So if I distribute, I get x squared plus 1x plus 8x plus 8, combine like terms, and I still get the same original problem. So what you want to note here is that the order of the binomials do not matter the order of the binomials do not matter. It matters what's in them, but it does not matter the order of them. Okay, so when you're checking, if you write it in the opposite order, that's fine, as long as it actually says the same thing. Okay, same thing with answers on the answer key. Okay, so I'm gonna put down 2 problems and I wanna see what you come up with. Oop, try that again. X squared plus 7x plus 12 and x squared plus 11x plus 30. Factor those two.